Okay, Win editor Tristan Warner here, joined by special guest Alexio Garcia. Alexio has been named the 2026 Win Magazine Women's Coach of the Year for college wrestling. Alexio, storybook season for you all out there, and let's just start with, before we get into the season and how everything ended up playing out, and what an exciting year it was with it being the first year of a sanctioned NCAA women's wrestling tournament. How does it feel to be named Coach of the Year?
It's an honor. This is kind of what, as coaches, we kind of look forward to, as far as obviously like the way the season panned out, and just everything that comes after is kind of sometimes a blur, and we don't take enough time to actually appreciate it. But I'm
Yeah.
glad, and again, it's an honor, and I actually got a me and Terry message back and forth a little bit about it, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I failed to mention that. We're naming it the Terry Steiner Women's Coach of the Year, fittingly, as Terry has done a tremendous job with women's wrestling on the USA wrestling scene. Alexia, before we get into how this year exactly panned out, what were your expectations going in this year? With it, there was a lot more hype maybe around the season, just knowing that it was the first year of officially sanctioned NCAA tournament, and I think a lot of people had high expectations for all of that, and were really excited about it. If you can, rewind in your mind back about 8, 9 months ago, heading into this season, could you have ever foreseen the way that this season went being that way, or take me through the mindset heading into this season?
So, yeah, yeah, there's a lot that rushes in, but I got hired here at McKendree 4 years ago now, and when we got here, especially with that first couple classes we recruited, we said this is very much a possibility. We can do it. It's just going to take time to build it and make sure
Hmm.
that the philosophy and the structure and the culture and environment is all what it needs to be. And heading into this year with the freshmen we brought in and what we had coming back, we knew that it was a possibility. And it went from the first couple months while people are here, you get them to buy in, and just as a whole, not as culture, and to what the philosophy is and what the end goal is. And then after a while, we didn't talk about winning a national title. We talked about performing at our best every single day and being a lot more consistent than everyone else, and being where our feet are, and making sure that we were where we needed to be at every point in stage. Does that make sense? I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
we took a hard loss at national duels, but as a coaching staff and as a team, we knew like this is where we need to be, and we're wrestling where we need to be wrestling. Right? We're not wrestling great by any means, but we're wrestling good enough to know that we're in a good place. And by the end of it, heading into like the regional, we talked about, again, being perfect and as close as you can be to it, because obviously perfection is pretty hard. But
Yeah.
we kind of kept reiterating, like, with this group, pushing them hard, and having them trust the process, and that all the little things become a lot more significant, and you have to try to be perfect on and off the mat, not just wrestling, but your life. um and then we head into regionals, and we go 10 for 10. At that point, we're like, wow, like, okay, we're wrestling pretty good. But you start to think, like, where are we at? Again, where are we at? We talked about it, like, this is right where we need to be. We wrestled pretty good, but we're not wrestling great. Like, we're wrestling good, and we're very consistent. And then after that, we just kind of knew, like, yeah, it's gonna happen. And then we go into the national tournament, and I think the first day we went 19-1. We won. We lost one match that first day, and the girls knew, like, okay, we just keep our heads down, and get to work. It even got to the point where so I have three daughters and a son, and my birthday's actually March 5th, so that's when we headed out to the national tournament. And like, my kids are still young, so they want to celebrate birthdays and cake and balloons. I was like, no, no, dad's got a job. And we kind of, even my wife, she's like, okay, guys, like, this is the plan. After it's all said and done, we'll celebrate. We're
Yeah.
either gonna be really happy, or it's just gonna be something to celebrate after, right? So it ended up working out, obviously. But that's how invested into, like, not just in the room, but like life. It's trying to be perfect, and like no distractions. Even if it is their birthday, it's hard. And as much time as our ladies put into it this year, I knew, like, we owe it to them. We owe them day and night of being hand and foot and making sure that they have everything from the way they're walking into the room to the way that they're leaving the room, and how we head into the national tournament. And obviously, yeah, we knew there was about 2 3 points where we knew like this is gonna happen for sure.
Yeah.
And even through some of it, it wasn't even the wins. Some of the losses, we were like, okay, no, it's gonna happen just because we needed that. We needed to feel that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I really wanted to ask you too. I was at the national duels, and that was a really highly contested match there in the finals with North Central, and it really could have gone either way. But how did that? I barely even call it a setback because it was, like I said, it was so close. But how did that kind of, you're kind of at the midway point of the season. How did that loss maybe reshape or refocus your team and your coaching staff? Because, like you said, you kind of knew even with that loss, like you guys are peaking at the right time, I guess.
Exactly, exactly. We after that we had a crossroad, right? And it was like, I told the coaching staff, I went into that tournament with two speeches prepared. One
Yeah.
if we would have won it, and one for when we lost. And when we lost, it was like, I'm not surprised. Like this, we knew this was a possibility because sometimes it's making sure that the girls are feeling good at the right time, right? And even though it didn't feel good to take a loss, we weren't wrestling bad. I mean, every match we lost except for one, I think we were winning in that
Yep.
duel, and that's okay. There was a difference in technique and the way we were wrestling, and those are things that needed to be seen, right? Because
Yeah.
up to that point, you could be perfect, but if you never get exposed, it's never going to help you. So
Exactly.
that's what we took into the last 8 weeks, and we kept saying it like, "Hey, this is right where we need to be. This is what we felt," and then you start to fix all the little things. You throw in some ice cream on the bad days, and it ends up working out. That was the whole thing to the whole sprinkles thing. It was we got home and we're like, "Hey guys, like, we could take this one of two ways, and it's actually a blessing in disguise. Trust me, because if we would have gone out there and we'd have got pulverized and been like, okay, we need to fix stuff, but it's something that you need to feel. It was competitive nature, and it's atmosphere, and what you're feeling. Like, those are all valid things heading in to the postseason, and the postseason for us was 8 weeks. Like we're
Yeah.
like, okay, this is what we're gonna do for 8 weeks, and then we even went to the four hurdles, and we lost another close one to Iowa by one match. And it's like, no, these are good things. We have
Yep.
to see it. You can't hide from competition, and you got to see it. And then at the end, when you need to be perfect, then we will try it. We'll be as close as possible. And obviously it ended up working out. But yeah, those are actually sometimes you don't think it's a good thing, but it's a great thing.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. And what do you think it was about your program this year that, even though like you said you took two very close dual meet losses, and I know the scoring and freestyle for duels is a little different than what a lot of fans are used to seeing in men's college or whatever. But what do you think it was about your program this year, besides just peaking at the right time, that allowed you all to take the individual tournament title, as opposed to where you might have lost those real close dual meets during the regular season?
It was a culture, accountability, and good energy.
Yeah,
Like even through all of it, it was good energy. You could see the team just got better every week, and there's no real animosity on this team. Like you were like 2 3 deep per weight class, and people wrestle really hard, and they understand that it's not personal, and
yeah,
that was a great structure and environment and culture to have, just because we don't deal with the bickering. Does that make sense? It's more
yeah.
like, no, everyone knows that you come in, and if it's not me, I hope it's you. And now realistically, when people want to go and win national titles and make world teams, you need those partners that believe in you just as much as you believe in yourself. And we had a great overall sense of that. Does that make
Yeah,
sense? And obviously,
totally.
I have about three coaches, assistant coaches that I'm blessed with, and volunteers, and it was always just really good energy. And at the end, it was consistent good energy. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? I think,
Yep.
like we go keep saying, it's just consistency. I think at the end of the day, we're just very consistent.
Yeah. Yep. And that'll get it done in the postseason for sure. You always hear that preached. And I wanted to ask you too, besides, the fact that you guys won and the storybook finish kind of thing, what was your overall impression of just the first official sanctioned NCAA women's tournament as a whole? Even if, it wouldn't have gone your guys' way, like what was your opinion and your guys' view of like stepping into that arena for the first time? You see the NCAA like signage, and that had to be a pretty cool feeling just to sit back and think like how far women's wrestling has come.
Yeah, man, that just it legitimizes everything, Like
Yeah.
I know I don't want to say years prior or the work that's been done heading up to this point wasn't legit, but like
Yeah.
when you see NCAA on it, that it's not just like we know now; it's everyone knows. I
Everybody
mean,
knows. Hmm.
I've had phone calls from basketball coaches and football coaches where I'm like, this is crazy. Like they actually know women's wrestling, So
Yeah.
it's pretty awesome. Um, but as the team walking in there, we walked in and we have one girl, Cameron Guerin, who became a 5-time national champion. She's seen the growth through all of it. And she's like, this is even special to her, right? And this was her fifth national title. And then you have freshmen who step into the stage and obviously they've wrestled at world championships and done all that. But now they see the NCAA logo on everything, and it's just like you can see the glimmer. And even me, I've been to 4 national tournaments, and uh, to say that this one didn't feel different even walking in would be crazy because when I walked in, I was like, damn, this is legit. Like, this
Yeah.
is real. Like, this one is for all the marbles. Where
Hmm.
now, I don't want to say the other ones weren't because we're
Yeah.
pretty consistent and, being top two, top three team in the country. But it's like, this is the one I want. Like,
This
if
one's
we get one,
special.
it's this one. Yes, because
Yeah.
it's the whole NCAA thing. I mean, the trophy itself was just insane.
Yeah. Yeah. Different animal, even though it's like you
Yeah.
said, it's doesn't illegitimize anything prior, but it's just different. Um, wanted to ask you too about, in men's it's a little different because, they wrestle the folk style season and it's maybe a little bit um I don't know if difficult's the word, but it's a little bit more of a challenge maybe to transition into the postseason with freestyle. But with that being what you guys wrestled during the season, how important do you feel it is for your girls to continue to wrestle in, some of this U20, women's nationals, and then you got the U.S. Open and stuff like that? Is that something that you really, hope your girls partake in and continue to get extra mat time in the U.S. Open type stuff?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. What we realized too though is like you have to start picking and choosing right when you peak.
Yeah,
And and this is just I'm very transparent with everything.
yeah,
Last year we take I think we took third or fourth at the national tournament, and then we go and we put 5 6 girls on the world team, or
exactly.
no,
Yeah,
in on the national team and the world team. And this year I think it's like 3 or 4 on those world teams and national teams. And I'm not saying that it's not a good thing, but obviously I'd like to see all 10 of our girls on world teams and national teams. But there comes a point where you're very upfront with them, right? Like you're in a room of 30 girls, and do all 30 want to make world teams? No, but
yeah,
there is 10. There's maybe 8 that want to be Olympians, and then you have the ones that want to be a part of a winning structure and culture environment, and continue to develop and work into those roles. So it's just being real about it, and if you got 7 girls who want to be like, okay, once, the season's over, we get our 1 week and then we jump right into it, awesome. But even for me, like I said, the last 8 weeks prepping for that national run, it was tough. It's eh, and how do I say it's like obviously men's programs, winning program, women's programs across the country. Everyone knows how hard it is to prepare for a national tournament and to have a team ready, and again to what our I don't want to say 10. It was what the 30 girls in this room did for eight
yeah,
weeks to prepare for a national title is like something of like a movie. It's
yeah,
insane, the work that they did and the amount of time they put in to try to be to as close as perfect on and off the mat. Like I don't think there's enough appreciation from even just me of what went into it. So then to turn around and jump into the world team trials, some of them have this energy, right? They're young, they want to get in. And then you have some that are like, hey, coach, like like we accomplished what we wanted, and I just need a break, So it's finding the
yep,
balance and making sure that you just don't burn them out. I know obviously when you love wrestling, it's hard to burn people out, but sometimes it's not even mental, it's just physically, it's like, okay, you know,
yeah.
but obviously the ones that want to continue, we support fully, and they train with the Bearcat Wrestling Club. So it's awesome. And yeah, I mean, we still have a bunch of girls training, so even now it's just to continue their development. So
Yeah, and wanted to ask you about on the individual side. I think you guys had what 10 in the semis and 3 national champs.
we
Incredible accomplishment.
not 9 in the semis.
9 in the semis. Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about those 3 that were able to come out on top for national titles, and then how special was it to be a part of Cam's 5th historic national title?
So yeah, we had five national finalists, a couple returning finalists, and like Shelby Moore, that was her second time in the finals, and she battled hard, and it was a good match. And then Yu Sakamoto goes out there. She actually transferred in from Northern Michigan the year prior, and we had her ready, and she went out there and performed to a T. She was patient and executed really well. And that was big for her. This season it was about growth and development and making sure that, I mean, that you can compete all the time. Does that make sense? And for her,
Yeah,
it was just consistency because we all know. I mean, she's a U23 world champion, and before she came here, she takes third or fourth at the national tournament, and I was like, "There's no way that happens." It's a structured environment, and when she went into the finals, and she said she felt freer in the finals than she has all year. And I was like, yeah, because when you're prepared for those moments and they show up, you're able to execute on a dime. Like she
yeah,
was able to pick up the tempo, slow it down, was good in the hand fight. She was great. Um, and then we had a first timer was Destiny Rodriguez, goes in at 180, but she had a tall glass with Kylie Walker, right? But even then, she went out there knowing that she can compete, and there was just a couple positions that kind of threw her off a little bit and opened the match a little bit wider than we wanted it to. So she had to open up, and you kind of expose yourself a little bit more because you're willing to take risk at that point.
yeah,
But she went out there ready, and that's her first time at the show,
yeah.
and Tristan Kelly was Tristan Kelly. She had a tough loss at the national duels, and it wasn't, again. Sometimes we think it's physical or the wrestling. No, no. Sometimes it's just mental and understanding who you are, and sometimes losses are a good thing because you
Mhm.
need to be exposed to, again, physical, mental. What is it? And then once you figure that out, then you become a whole new beast. But you address it at that point,
Yeah,
right? Because everyone's like, I can go 28-0 and feel great. Yeah, and then you get pushed one time and you break. And it
fumble.
wasn't
Yeah,
even that you got pushed, it's the fact that someone just exposed something that you needed to expose, and that's okay. That's wrestling. It's supposed to be that way.
yeah,
Um, and then Tristan goes and wrestles lights out. I
yeah.
think she gave up like 1 point the whole tournament, which was
Hmm.
insane. So it was great. And then she looked great at the U.S. Open. She hit the finals
Yeah,
again, and she avenged that loss that she took. And I think she ended up teching her. So I mean, the growth and development is great.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
then Cam, yeah, man, that's a special one, especially for me. Cam was actually the first female athlete I have ever coached. Like
Okay, wow.
since she was, I think like seventh or eighth grade. She was young, and so to see all of it, was great. But this one, even when we talk about it, was a little bit more special because the whole NCAA season, and
Yeah,
she was coming off of injury and just a bunch of setbacks the year prior, and again, it was like we talked about. Can you go make a world team run? Yeah, you can, but physically and mentally, where are we at? And again, that's trusting these athletes that they can be professionals and communicate that. And Cam comes back, and she's probably training the best I've seen in a long time because there's no owies, there's no constant lingering nagging injury. um and then goes out there and damn, I think damn near teched everybody in the tournament.
yeah.
So it was
Hmm.
pretty special, and obviously to get the fifth one, making it the NCAA. I think she's wrestled in every era of women's wrestling, like
Yeah,
and like has a title for when it was like NWWC, NWCA, and now NCAA. So
a lot of
that's pretty
acronyms.
cool. Yeah, yeah, man, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's really cool that you were there for her start to finish, kind of like, you kind of guided her whole career, which is really special. Coach, again, last thing I wanted to ask you too. They always say like, the only thing harder than winning a national title would be repeating, that kind of thing. And when you look at famous historical coaches like Nick Saban, he would win a title for Alabama and say, "We'll celebrate this tonight, but tomorrow our clock flips and we're back to we're training for next year or whatever." How is your approach, or after coming off this historic storybook ending kind of thing? How have you been able to mentally, or have you yet, kind of like flip the calendar in your mind and be like, okay, that was awesome, but now we got to go do this again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Jordan Burroughs said the same thing. He's like, "What's next?" And I was like, "Give me 2 days, and I'll be right back on it." And
Yeah.
I kind of lied a little bit. It took me 4 days, and but even after that, then we go and sign a couple monster recruits, and it's like, people see what's happening here, and they see what we're trying to do, and the goal is 100% to do it again.
Yeah.
Especially right now. Yeah, I mean, I don't even think the fact that we won a national title set until about like 3 weeks after we won it. You know, obviously you have the trophy and you're doing all that stuff, and there's just a lot going on, so it doesn't really like set in.
Yeah.
Like even now, I have a trophy in my house, and I walk by it every day, and I look at it, I'm like, dang, it's pretty cool, man. And I was
Yeah.
like, we gotta do it again, you
Yep.
know.
Yep.
And the goal is always just to do it again, and I think that'll be me forever because, you know, to be honest, you know, it gets done, you get the job done, and this is something I talked about since I got hired. Like we're gonna win a national title, and you know, I'm very blessed that it was an NCAA title, so I wouldn't trade any single one for that one
Yeah.
ever. But you know, the goal is to do it again, and obviously the field gets a little bit bigger. They add more D1s, and you
Yeah.
know, we just got to keep being who we are, and recruit well, and be honest, and make sure that we're doing the right things. And obviously we'll have people come, and people go, and that's okay. But as long as we stick to who we are, it's always gonna work. And like I tell people, I'm very obsessed. I don't even know if it's with winning, because like I said, we won it, and it's like, all right, that was cool. You know, like
Yeah.
what's next? You
Yeah.
know, but doing it again is probably it is what's next. But obviously recruiting and making sure that you're bringing in the right people, and obviously it helps show that you know we can get things done ultimately. But even now, like playing it through my head, I don't know. I want to do it again, but I don't even think it's about winning. I think it's about dominating and like putting a gap between us and everyone else that's so crazy. It's just like unfathomable, where people are like, this is insane. You know, and
Yeah.
how are they doing it? I like the fact that people constantly want to know what it is that we're doing, or that coaches can't sleep at night because I'm never done working. Like I'm always working, I'm always recruiting, I'm always coaching. I'm how do you say it? I am very obsessed, and I love wrestling. I could do it
Yeah.
forever, but like I
Yep.
said, man, I got 3 kids, and I'm 34, so still young, and trying to get after. So it's good.
It's awesome. Well, it's a well-deserved award, like we said. Alexio Garcia named Win Magazine's Terry Steiner Women's Coach of the Year. The first time we've done the award, and look forward to continuing to give that out annually. But an incredible year for you guys. Like I said, basically a storybook ending. You kind of said it best. It was like a movie, the way that season unfolded and the way it ended, especially being on your birthday weekend. So incredible stuff. Thanks again for joining us, Alexio. Best of luck to you guys, and congratulations on the award.
I appreciate you, boss.
Thank you so much.